In a world addicted to comfort, toughness has become a superpower. And today I'm going to show you how the Spartans built that superpower from scratch. Most people believe that mental strength is something you either have or you don't. They think discipline belongs to a special category of humans, athletes, warriors, highly motivated individuals. But that belief is completely wrong. The Spartans proved something extraordinary. Toughness is not born, it is trained. Thousands of years ago, without gyms, without technology, without motivational speeches, they developed a simple system of physical training that created some of the strongest, most resilient people in human history. And here's the powerful truth. Those same methods still work today. This is not just another fitness video. This is not about looking good or chasing trends. This is about something far deeper. It's about how specific physical exercises can rewire your brain, rebuild your dopamine system, and transform the way you think, feel, and perform. Modern life has made us soft. We avoid discomfort. We escape into screens. We chase easy pleasure. And as a result, we feel anxious, unmotivated, distracted, and mentally exhausted. The Spartans lived by the opposite philosophy. They understood that discomfort is not the enemy, it is the teacher. That real confidence comes from doing hard things. That a strong body creates an unbreakable mind. In this video, you're going to learn the exact 7 exercises that formed the foundation of Spartan strength. Movements so simple, so practical, that anyone can start them today. No fancy equipment, no complicated routines, just raw, proven training. But more importantly, you're going to understand the science behind them. Why these exercises build not only muscle, but emotional resilience. Why they increase focus, reduce stress, and restore natural motivation. If you've been feeling stuck, low on energy, or mentally drained, this is not a character flaw. It's a sign that your body and brain need the right kind of challenge. By the end of this video, you will have a clear, practical blueprint to train like a Spartan in the modern world, to become stronger, calmer, and more disciplined starting today. So if you're ready to stop being controlled by comfort and start becoming truly powerful, stay with me. Let's begin. Imagine for a moment a society so disciplined, so physically powerful, and so mentally unbreakable that it became legendary for thousands of years. When we hear the word Spartan, we don't just think of warriors. We think of strength, resilience, focus, and self-control. And here's the powerful truth. Those qualities were not genetic gifts. They were trained, built, earned through daily habits and specific exercises. What I want you to understand today is that the Spartan body was created by Spartan behavior, and modern science now proves what they already knew intuitively. The way you move your body changes your brain, your emotions, and your entire life. The first exercise was brutally simple: running. Not comfortable jogging, not a casual treadmill walk, but purposeful running designed to push limits. Running teaches the brain to tolerate discomfort. It strengthens the heart, clears mental fog, and builds what psychologists call distress tolerance. Every time you run when you don't feel like it, you train the part of your mind that refuses to quit. Then came body weight squats. Hundreds of them, no fancy equipment, just repetition and discipline. Squats are more than a leg exercise. They are a character exercise. They teach patience. They teach consistency. When your thighs are burning and your lungs are screaming and you keep going anyway, you are literally rewiring your dopamine system to value effort over comfort. The Spartans also mastered push-ups, a movement so basic and yet so powerful. Push-ups build the chest, arms, and core, but more importantly, they build confidence. Every repetition is a tiny promise you keep to yourself, and self-trust grows from those small promises repeated day after day. Another cornerstone was planks, holding the body still while every muscle trembles. This is mental training disguised as physical training. Planks force you to sit with discomfort instead of running from it. In modern life, we escape the moment we feel uneasy, with phones, food, distractions. The Spartan learned to stay, to endure, to be present. They practiced lunges long before gyms existed. Forward, backward, weighted with stones or shields. Lunges trained balance and coordination, but they also symbolized something deeper, the willingness to step forward even when the load is heavy. That is a life lesson disguised as exercise. Pull-ups were another essential ritual. Lifting your own body weight from a dead hang requires grit. Most people avoid pull-ups because they are hard. The Spartans did them precisely because they were hard, and that is the mindset shift I want you to feel in your bones. Choose the difficult path, and life becomes easier. Choose the easy path, and life becomes harder. And finally, they wrestled, real, raw, physical grappling. This wasn't just about strength, it was about courage, adaptability, and emotional control. Wrestling taught them to stay calm under pressure, to think clearly in chaos, and to respect the power of discipline. Now here is where this becomes deeply personal for you. We live in a world overflowing with comfort. Elevators instead of stairs, screens instead of movement, instant pleasure instead of earned pride, and our brains are paying the price. Anxiety, low motivation, poor focus, these are modern symptoms of under-challenged bodies and overstimulated minds. The Spartans understood something we are desperately trying to relearn. A strong body creates a strong mind. You don't need a battlefield. You don't need ancient equipment. You just need a decision to move every day, to sweat, to struggle a little, to deliberately do things that are uncomfortable so that the rest of life feels easier. If you commit to these 7 exercises, running, squats, push-ups, planks, lunges, pull-ups, and some form of challenging physical training, you are not just changing your muscles, you are changing your dopamine pathways. You are teaching your brain that effort leads to reward. And that is the foundation of motivation, confidence, and emotional resilience. I want you to feel the energy of this message. Right now, wherever you are, understand this. You are far stronger than your excuses. Your body is waiting for a challenge. Your mind is waiting for a reason to wake up. The Spartans were not superhuman. They were simply consistent. And consistency is available to every single person listening to this. So start small, but start today. 10 push-ups, a 1-minute plank, a short run around the block. Build it step by step, just like they did. And over time, you will notice something incredible. You will walk taller, think clearer, and face life with a calm, powerful confidence. That is the real Spartan transformation. And it is waiting for you. Now go earn it. Growth begins the moment you stop negotiating with discomfort. That single idea sits at the core of everything we know about human behavior, addiction, motivation, and lasting change. The human brain is designed, above all else, to keep us safe and comfortable. It constantly pushes us toward pleasure and away from pain. From an evolutionary standpoint, that made perfect sense. But in the modern world, that same instinct has become our greatest limitation. Every day we are surrounded by opportunities to escape discomfort. If we feel tired, we rest. If we feel bored, we reach for a screen. If we feel stressed, we look for something to distract us. Over time, we train ourselves, without realizing it, to believe that any form of struggle is a threat. And when that happens, our world becomes smaller and smaller. True transformation requires the exact opposite response. It requires a conscious decision to walk directly toward what feels difficult. Physical exercise is one of the purest forms of this principle. When you choose to run, even though your lungs burn, when you complete another set, even though your muscles ache, you are doing far more than strengthening your body. You are retraining the deepest wiring of your brain. From a neuroscience perspective, discomfort is not just an unpleasant feeling. It is a signal that growth is possible. When you push yourself physically, your brain releases dopamine and endorphins, not during the easy moments, but after the hard ones. You learn, at a biological level, that effort produces reward. Over time, that lesson reshapes your entire relationship with challenge. Most people live in a constant cycle of avoidance. They wait to feel motivated before they act. They wait to feel confident before they begin. But the truth is far more powerful and far less comfortable. Motivation and confidence are byproducts of doing hard things, not prerequisites for them. When you stop negotiating with discomfort, something remarkable happens. You begin to realize that the sensations you once feared, fatigue, strain, breathlessness, uncertainty, are not emergencies. They are simply experiences, and experiences pass. The more often you expose yourself to voluntary hardship, the less control fear has over you. This is why disciplined physical training changes people so profoundly. It creates proof, real, undeniable proof that you can handle more than you thought. Each difficult workout becomes a small victory stored in your nervous system. Over weeks and months, those small victories accumulate into a new identity. The identity of someone who does not quit when things get hard. In our comfort-obsessed culture, this is a radical act. Choosing to be uncomfortable on purpose is a declaration of independence from impulse and instant gratification. It is a way of taking control of your own biology instead of being controlled by it. The Spartans understood this intuitively thousands of years ago. Modern science is only now catching up to what they practiced daily. Hardship, when chosen voluntarily, does not break us. It builds us. So the real question is not whether discomfort will appear in your life. It always will. The question is whether you will continue to run from it or whether you will finally stop negotiating with it and use it as the tool it was always meant to be. The moment you make that decision, genuine growth begins. Discipline is not a personality trait. It is a daily practice. That idea challenges one of the most common myths people carry about success and self-control. Many of us grow up believing that disciplined people are somehow born different, that they possess a rare internal quality the rest of us lack. We look at highly focused, physically fit, mentally strong individuals and assume they were gifted with extraordinary willpower. But neuroscience and behavioral science tell a very different story. What we call discipline is not a fixed character feature. It is a skill built slowly through repeated actions. The brain changes in response to what we do consistently. Every time you follow through on a difficult task, you strengthen the neural circuits responsible for self-regulation. Every time you avoid a challenge, you weaken them. Over time, those tiny decisions accumulate and create the illusion of a disciplined person. The Spartans became symbols of strength not because they waited to feel ready, but because they practiced readiness every single day. They understood that consistency shapes identity. Modern life, however, constantly tempts us to live in the opposite way. We are surrounded by instant gratification, convenience, and endless opportunities to avoid effort. As a result, many people have unintentionally trained themselves to be inconsistent. From the perspective of the brain, habits are more powerful than intentions. You can be highly motivated in your mind and still struggle if your daily routines do not support that motivation. Discipline grows from structure, repetition, and predictable behavior. It is created in the small, unglamorous moments when you choose to act despite not feeling like it. One of the most important truths about human psychology is that action shapes emotion far more than emotion shapes action. Waiting for the right mood is a trap. The disciplined individual does not rely on inspiration. They rely on systems. They show up whether they are excited, tired, bored, or stressed, and with enough repetition, showing up becomes automatic. This is why daily physical exercise is such a powerful teacher. It provides a simple, measurable way to practice discipline. When you decide to run, lift, or train at a specific time each day, you are not only strengthening your muscles, you are strengthening the part of your brain that follows through on commitments. You are proving to yourself over and over again that your choices are not controlled by fleeting feelings. In the modern world, consistency has become rare, and anything rare becomes valuable. The person who can do ordinary, healthy, productive behaviors day after day gains an extraordinary advantage, not because they are special, but because they have trained themselves to be reliable. Discipline, then, is not about perfection. It is about returning to the routine after a bad day, returning to the workout after a missed session, returning to the plan even when enthusiasm fades. Each return is another repetition in the practice of becoming stronger. When people understand this, their relationship with themselves changes. They stop waiting for a magical transformation and begin focusing on small daily actions, and those actions, repeated long enough, create something that looks like unbreakable self-control. The most empowering realization of all is this: if discipline is a practice, then anyone can learn it. You do not need to be extraordinary. You only need to begin, and then begin again tomorrow. That is how real strength is built, one consistent day at a time. Physical effort is emotional medicine. That statement may sound poetic, but it is grounded in some of the most solid neuroscience we have. For centuries, people intuitively understood that movement made them feel better. Today, we can explain exactly why. When you challenge your body, you are not only strengthening muscles and bones, you are directly influencing the chemistry and structure of your brain. The modern world has created a dangerous illusion that mental health exists separately from physical health. We treat anxiety, depression, and lack of motivation as purely psychological problems, while ignoring the biological foundation underneath them. The truth is that the mind and body are part of one integrated system. What you do with your body sends powerful signals to your nervous system about how safe, capable, and resilient you are. Exercise is one of the most reliable ways to regulate dopamine, the neurotransmitter that drives motivation and reward. In a life filled with quick pleasures and instant stimulation, our dopamine systems become overstimulated and exhausted. We end up feeling flat, restless, and unmotivated. Physical effort reverses that process. When you work hard, especially when you do not feel like it, your brain learns to produce dopamine in a healthy, balanced way. You begin to experience satisfaction from real achievement instead of artificial reward. Movement also reduces stress hormones like cortisol and increases endorphins, the body's natural painkillers. This is why people often finish a workout feeling calmer, clearer, and more emotionally stable than when they started. The act of pushing your body through discomfort sends a message to your brain that you are capable of handling difficulty. That message generalizes far beyond the gym. It changes how you respond to challenges at work, in relationships, and in everyday life. One of the most important effects of regular physical effort is its impact on anxiety. Anxiety thrives in stillness and avoidance. When we stop moving, our minds begin to spin. Exercise interrupts that cycle. It gives nervous energy a productive outlet. It teaches the body, through direct experience, that elevated heart rate and heavy breathing are not signs of danger, but signs of strength. Physical training also builds emotional resilience. Each time you complete a difficult set, finish a long run, or push through fatigue, you are practicing emotional regulation. You are learning to stay steady in the presence of discomfort instead of panicking or quitting. That skill transfers into every other stressful situation you face. In clinical practice, we often see people searching for complex solutions to their emotional struggles. They want new techniques, new medications, new strategies. But one of the most powerful interventions is also the simplest. Move your body consistently and with intention. It does not need to be extreme. It only needs to be regular and challenging enough to demand effort. The benefits accumulate quietly over time. Sleep improves, mood stabilizes, focus sharpens, confidence grows. These changes are not imaginary or motivational slogans. They are measurable shifts in brain function and emotional regulation. The deeper lesson is this: you cannot think your way out of every problem. Sometimes the most effective therapy is not more analysis, but more action. When you take care of your body through disciplined physical effort, you create a foundation for mental health that no amount of positive thinking can replace. In a world that encourages us to sit, scroll, and seek comfort, choosing to move is a radical act of self-care. It is a way of telling your brain and your emotions that you are alive, capable, and strong. And that may be the most powerful medicine of all. Comfort addiction makes people fragile. That is one of the most uncomfortable truths of modern life, and also one of the most important. We live in a time unlike any other in human history. At almost every moment, we have access to effortless entertainment, instant food, climate-controlled rooms, and endless digital distraction. Our environment has become designed to remove struggle from daily life. And while that may feel pleasant in the short term, it slowly weakens us in ways most people never recognize. The human brain adapts to whatever it experiences most often. When life becomes too easy, our tolerance for difficulty shrinks. Small frustrations begin to feel overwhelming. Minor inconveniences trigger outsized emotional reactions. We become, without realizing it, psychologically and physically delicate. What looks like progress on the surface often creates vulnerability underneath. From a neurobiological perspective, constant comfort keeps the brain locked in a cycle of passive dopamine consumption. Easy pleasures give quick bursts of reward with no effort required. Over time, the nervous system begins to expect that pattern. Anything that demands patience, endurance, or delayed gratification starts to feel intolerable. This is how comfort slowly turns into dependency. The more we avoid stress, the less capable we become of handling it. This is not a moral failing, it is a biological law. Just as muscles grow weaker when they are not used, emotional resilience weakens when it is never challenged. A life built entirely around convenience creates a nervous system that panics in the face of normal hardship. That is why deliberately choosing demanding workouts and structured routines is so powerful. Physical training is one of the most direct ways to reverse the fragility created by modern comfort. When you ask your body to do something difficult, you are teaching your brain that effort is safe. You are proving to yourself in a concrete way that discomfort can be tolerated and overcome. Each time you finish a hard session, when you wanted to quit, you expand your capacity for stress. The threshold of what feels unbearable slowly rises. Problems that once seemed overwhelming begin to feel manageable. You become calmer, steadier, and more confident, not because life has become easier, but because you have become stronger. This process is not only physical, it is deeply psychological. People who live in constant comfort often feel anxious and out of control because they have very little real evidence of their own capability. Challenging exercise provides that evidence. It reminds you, at a visceral level, that you are not as fragile as your emotions sometimes suggest. The goal is not to make life unnecessarily miserable. The goal is balance. A certain amount of stress, effort, and hardship is essential for human well-being. Without it, we lose our edge, our focus, and our sense of purpose. Voluntary struggle acts as a vaccine against the unavoidable struggles of real life. In many ways, comfort addiction is the silent epidemic of our age. It does not look like a problem because it feels good, but beneath the surface it erodes discipline, motivation, and emotional stability. The antidote is surprisingly simple. Regularly do things that are hard on purpose. When you choose to run instead of sit, to lift instead of rest, to train instead of escape into distraction, you are reclaiming your natural strength. You are reminding your nervous system how to be resilient. You are stepping out of the soft cage of convenience and back into a more powerful version of yourself. A demanding workout is not punishment. It is protection. It protects you from becoming small in a world that constantly invites you to shrink. And that is why choosing discomfort again and again is one of the most important decisions a person can make. Confidence is built through proof, not positive thinking. That idea runs directly against much of what modern culture teaches. We are constantly told that the key to self-belief is affirmations, visualization, and optimistic self-talk. While those tools can have some value, they are fragile when they are not supported by real experience. The human brain does not ultimately trust words. It trusts evidence. True confidence grows from a very simple source: repeated demonstrations to yourself that you can do hard things. Every time you complete a difficult workout, resist an unhealthy impulse, or push past a mental limit, you create a piece of internal proof. Those small moments accumulate over time into a deep, quiet sense of capability. From a psychological standpoint, this process is incredibly powerful. The brain is constantly building a story about who you are based on your behavior. If you repeatedly avoid challenge, your internal narrative becomes one of weakness and limitation. If you repeatedly face challenge and endure it, the narrative slowly changes to one of strength and competence. No amount of motivational language can replace that lived experience. Physical training provides one of the clearest and most reliable ways to generate this kind of proof. When you finish a set you thought you could not finish, when you run farther than you believed possible, when you show up on a day you desperately wanted to quit, you send an undeniable message to yourself. You learn, in a way that goes beyond theory, that you are capable of more than you assumed. This is why confidence built through action feels so different from confidence built through words. It is grounded, it is stable, it does not collapse at the first sign of difficulty because it has already been tested. It has roots in reality. Many people struggle with low self-esteem because they are trying to think their way into feeling strong instead of behaving their way into it. They wait for courage to arrive before they act. But courage is not something that appears in advance. It is something that forms in the process of doing. Each rep in the gym, each disciplined choice, each uncomfortable effort becomes a vote for a new identity. Over time, those votes add up. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who endures, someone who can be trusted. That self-perception is the foundation of genuine self-confidence. This is also why quick fixes and shortcuts never create lasting belief. When something is too easy, the brain does not register it as meaningful. Real confidence requires friction. It requires struggle. It requires moments when quitting would be simpler, but you choose to continue anyway. The Spartans understood this instinctively. Their rigorous physical training was not only about preparing for battle, it was about forging unshakable inner certainty. Modern neuroscience now explains what they practiced. The mind becomes strong when the body is regularly tested. The lesson for our own lives is clear. If you want to feel more confident, stop looking for better thoughts and start collecting better evidence. Give yourself challenges that demand effort. Follow through on small commitments. Put yourself in situations that require discipline and persistence. Over weeks and months, something remarkable happens. The doubts that once felt overwhelming begin to quiet. Fear loses its authority. You no longer need to convince yourself that you are capable because you have already proven it again and again. Confidence at its core is simply trust in yourself, and trust is earned through action. That is the kind of confidence no one can take away.